welcome to reading. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks. I don't know where the hell. I don't know how that happened, but I hope you're all well. I'm just gonna tune in and read the field for you, and we'll see what comes through. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and check out the Patreon. That's where most of my time and energy goes towards. Little baby. So yeah, would love to have you join over there. And otherwise, yeah, you're welcome to be here as well. They kind of work in synergy. I had a brief moment, I tried TikTok again, but that, yeah, I really think the era is over, or at least for now. I tried again, but yeah, that's why I definitely subscribe here if you know me from TikTok, because my readings will be scattered here and again mostly on Patreon, or the most consistent on Patreon. That brief TikTok stint, my whole system recoiled again and was like, all right, we try getting back there. But yeah, maybe I've outgrown that platform, I still don't know, or it's just a break, I still don't know. But yeah, definitely stay over here so that you don't miss the readings. So I got a Fool sideways, we got a 7 of Pentacles, I got the Hermit in reverse, Chariot in reverse, and the World in reverse. I just want to see if they really want me to read this in reverse. There you are. Yeah, I guess, yes. Well, what I'm reading, or who I'm reading for, the collective that I am reading for, is undergoing some big changes. One that I've already touched upon on Patreon is this like push out of hermit mode, or if you have a history of being very comfortable in your own space, you know, you may be a homebody, or you just have a tendency of preferring your company over others. Yeah, as I said on Patreon, I already read that energy, and it's coming through here again. So it seems to be the broader collective that really is sensing a shift there. So this can be you just coming out of that space and you suddenly craving connection, or you are attracting connections, or you're attracting new relationships. And it does come with a bit of, I want to say, the baseline here is that like hermit mode has become a sort of comfort zone. So there can be, well, I don't know if you want to call it inner conflict, but there can be a period where it may feel a little bit strange having to, I guess, deal with like two energies at the same time. One being of like, okay, this is not satisfying anymore, there's something missing, I am craving connection, or I am craving to come out of my shell more. And at the same time, yeah, it being more comfortable when you do, like, more comfortable than pushing yourself to connect seems to be, oh, I can just, you know, be my space, be my energy. So that's where I'm seeing a big shift happening. I'm going to see if I can get more clarification. Whoa, I just went full on blank. It's just showing me some dissociation. But this is more in connection with like a love interest or crushes, or even like, tell me more about this King of Pentacles. Because I just fully disassociated. Yeah, King of Swords in reverse. This is more than, so this is, I guess, a bit more in detail where does the recoil happen? And in this case, it seems to happen when there's a person connected to pushing you out of your comfort zone. So this, again, there can be this inner battle of like, I want to connect with them, but at the same time it seems more comfortable to just be able to draw back. So this can look like having tendencies of intense connection with a person, and then you end up ghosting them, or you end up just not talking to them for weeks because you go back into your cave, like, because that's your comfort zone, or that's what you feel like you need to regulate yourself as well, especially if the contact is intense. But here is where the change is happening. So when a change happens, this can be progressive. This won't happen from today to tomorrow. This can be that you still have these mechanisms, but now you're aware of them. So you're aware, okay, I can be in intense contact with this person, and then I just feel the need to self-regulate or kind of go back into my comfort zone. And then this can in turn look like a bit of a push and pull, and depending who's at the receiving end. So here we have a King of Pentacles and we have a King of Swords. So they were both, the King of Swords is in reverse. So I'm just sensing there's, depending who you're dealing with, they will react very differently. So a King of Swords in reverse is more like an entitled, like feel more entitled to your time and energy, and may like have a tendency of, okay, if you're not giving me attention, I'm going to get the attention elsewhere. Whereas the King of Pentacles, I feel like deals with this very differently, because they seem more anchored in their own space. So I feel like they are more likely to give you space as well. They're less like, they're less likely to take it personally. Here with the Eight of Swords in reverse, they're not really, they don't take it personally. Like, they on some levels understand this may just be you regulating yourself, or they even have the same tendencies. So this is just some insight that there's a process happening, this may be changing, but it is taking time. So don't put too much, I'm kind of getting like, don't beat yourself up if you still have these tendencies and you're aware of them, and you're aware, or you have some fear flaring up of like, damn, is this person gonna just leave or go elsewhere? Like I said, depending who you're dealing with, that is a possibility, but there's also the type that will understand and will give you that space. Tell me more about the World in reverse. Okay, so there is some karmic loops coming up as well. So there's an intense process that is happening. You're undergoing intense changes. At the same time, part of these changes are you revisiting patterns that you've already, I guess, revisited more than one time. It's a karmic loop. So whenever there's a karmic loop, whenever you revisit something that is familiar, that is an opportunity for you to break out of it. If you do or you do not, depends on how aware you are that it is a karmic loop, and you have done or undergone the work that you can face the loop from a different standpoint, or you can deal with it differently than you have before. So this will be different for everyone. Everyone has a different pattern, everyone has different karmic loops. Of course, you can work with me. This is something that can be addressed in a one-on-one session. I have that linked below. For now, let me see what I can get on this. And a 10 of Cups. So some practical tip. This may make more sense when you are really being faced and you're aware this is a pattern. Like, I know I've revisited this before. What can help you is that you keep in mind where you're headed, or you keep in mind, because I'm getting a sense that you have had glimpses or you've had visions of what a fulfilled life looks and feels like for you. And if not, it would be really like a good time to get clear on that, or at least a little bit more clear, because that's going to help you. Let's say if you're faced with a karmic pattern or karmic loop that involves a person, that can be very, not only intense, but there's an addictive quality usually to karmic loops with a person, because you just get sucked into it because it feels familiar. There's this like, whether it's hot and cold, or it's like it just feels very intense, and it like, it's a karmic loop for a reason, because often, and like, your awareness is a big thing in itself, because oftentimes people are not aware that they are repeating a pattern. So if you are aware that there's a pattern that is showing up, or that you like confronted with a karmic loop, you're already ahead of the game compared to others. It's just how do you break out for good? Because unfortunately also you can break a karmic loop, but then it may come up again as a test, and then you fail the test, and then it can feel like, oh fuck, I'm back to square one. That's like how it can feel like with addiction, for example. But it's not really the truth that you end up at square one. It can just feel that way. But you do, after every loop, you learn something new. It does still like build character, or it does still make you more wise, even though if you are like in the midst of it, it can feel maddening. Especially, again, I'm getting if it's attached to a person, if you like attract somewhat of the same person in different bodies, and it's like the same pattern playing out, or it's the same energy, like you end up feeling the same, like you have had multiple times before. That is what, when we talk about a karmic loop. So yeah, as a practical advice, what you're getting is to become clear on what your ideal, or tap into the visions, tap into the feelings that you have had of what your ideal feels like. And again, feeling is being mentioned multiple times because that's what's important. Not so much just, having it thought out, but what does it actually feel like? And then you have that as a sort of frame, so that when you're faced with a karmic, let's say you are faced with a karmic loop that is connected to a person, more often than not, it will not feel good. Then you're left with the choice, am I going to choose this, or am I going to choose differently for myself? So when you have a frame of like, okay, but I know, even if I have not experienced it yet, I know what it feels like because I've had glimpses and I have had visions, or I have already tuned into that frequency. So that will help you make the choice that is more aligned with what you want to truly align with. So it's like a framework. It gives you a frame, because at the end of the day, the choices you make will either align you with what feels fulfilling, or it will align you with, I guess in this case, with being stuck in a sort of hamster wheel where you just repeat the same thing over and over again. And again, not a lot of people are not aware of that is happening. Or not until they get like a massive wake-up call and the penny drops, or I guess someone tells them straight up, and they are conscious enough to understand what is being presented to them. But here as well, like, you're ahead of the game by you alone being aware, okay, this is a repeat pattern, like I've been here before. Again, I'm just hearing that it's easier to notice it when there's another person involved. Let's see, we're like 30 minutes in. See if I can pick up one more. 6 of Cups and Ace of Swords in reverse. Yeah, it's not really connected to these cards, or it is connected to these cards because this is just information I got to be aware of, where you kind of run into the trap where you end up carrying more burdens, or like you end up carrying burdens that are not yours, because that is specifically here coming up as a big trap, or a tendency, or even a karmic loop in itself, where you somehow end up in a situation again where you're the one that is carrying the load. Tell me. Like, be aware of like what I heard, like being used and abused, which I know it can sound really like intense, or even, I mean, abused will be like terrible, but that as well, like I don't know who I don't know who I'm tapping into, but there's someone here who like realizes too late, in brackets, too late, that they are being abused, or they're not fully recognizing that it's a form of abuse, because maybe it's not coming, as like physical, getting punched or something, which is pretty straightforward. So maybe you want to read through, there's this like wheel of abuse, I think it's called. I'm just maybe very specific on an energy I'm picking up on someone who's gonna come across this reading. Power and control wheel. I'm gonna link this below so you can just have a look and just keep an open mind so that you have a clear understanding of what actually is all a form of abuse. And when you read this, you're gonna see how a lot of this is playing out right now in the world. So this is like the broader collective. This is really going into the global, into the masses, I guess, or what is happening on a mass scale right now as we speak. So yeah, I'm going to link that below. Tell me more. Yeah, because here there's a sense of getting wrapped up into something and then it being too late for you to like even fully acknowledge what you've just gotten yourself into. And it's kind of like, feels like quicksand, because when that happens, it's harder to get yourself out. So that's why I feel like this information came through, so that you have it clearly now, so that foremost, you're more likely to recognize it, and then you can already make a different choice before you end up getting sucked into something where you end up used and abused. Okay, so that for sure is going to reach who it has to. We've got a 10 of Swords in reverse, a Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and the High Priestess in reverse. I don't know why these are all in reverse. Can you tell me more about this? Well, there's definitely it definitely speaks of working against your intuition, the Empress in reverse. This is more like an explanation of why you would even end up in these loops, and it has to do with, well, this is where it gets tricky, because I heard with low self-worth, of course, when you have a low self-worth, or like you're feeling low or you're feeling down, you are, for example, you're just more likely to, this is where predators, so-called predators, will prey on you. Like, speaking in predator-prey archetypes, yes, there will be beings that can somewhat prey on you when you're at your lowest, whether these are entities or these are like physical beings. Unfortunately, there are beings that do that. They will prey on you when you're at your lowest. So if you already know, like, you're not in the best frame of mind, you're, just, I guess it's not too, like, there's no need to be hypervigilant. Someone here is hypervigilant, but that's also very common or natural if you already have tendencies of having been preyed on. Like, if you already have undergone karmic loops where you then ended up feeling used and abused, your nervous system will flare around certain people. And that is, again, like a blessing, because it's like your system already warning you of something that you've already lived. So just be vigilant there. You don't have to be hyper vigilant, because that will be very taxing on your nervous system. It will fry you, and it will be draining. So if you can, get out of the hyper vigilant state, but more like the vigilant part is good to be on your 10 toes in this case. And like informing yourself, I'm hearing informing yourself, just being knowledgeable about who you're dealing with. If you have tendency of dealing with narcissistic people, there's so much information out there. You can watch YouTube videos, you can read books, because they all follow the same rule book. So I am hearing, like, inform yourself. That is already part of what came through at the beginning. The awareness is protection in itself. So definitely inform yourself. Read read what I'm linking below, and then go on a hunt and get yourself the information that you need, because that is a form of protection. And yeah, I'm getting a sense that this is something to be taken seriously, because it can set you back, like getting wrapped up into connections or getting wrapped into these dynamics that you've, for one, already experienced, you've already lived. It can then feel like it's going to set you back. So I feel like this reading is coming through as like a prerequisite, like as to catch you, like offer sort of support before you end up getting caught up into something that if you're not aware now, if you don't, I guess, be on the ball now, it can just feel like more difficult to get out of it. And again, I do sense connected to a specific relationship or relationship dynamic that is familiar and that you're used to, but you actually know doesn't make you happy. It's actually the opposite. It ends up becoming draining and a drag, and just like, kind of feeding off of you. There's relationships where you see someone get into a relationship, and down the line it's just like, it looks like one partner is feeding off of the other, like it's not balanced. And again, that brings us to predator and prey. You may really want to just read up on that, or research and do as much as you can on your side, because you have gotten you did get the name drops of what you can do or what would help you right now. So I'm going to leave that up to you. I feel like my work here is done. I strongly trust this will find exactly what it needs to. And like I said, subscribe so you don't miss any more readings. I really, really want to try be more consistent on here as well. So yeah, just bear with me so I get into routine. And Patreon is my baby. That's where you get the most consistent reading. You will be part of a community. You will have perks and access to sessions that others don't. So yeah, feel free to check that out, and I will be back soon. Fingers crossed.